y'all.
The internationally known radio and podcast medical called Smoking and Toasting. We are internationally known and world famous because, of course, my mom now knows that we exist. And once she knows, I figure the world knows. So welcome to the show. It's show number 186 of Smoking and Toasting. This show is all about craft beer, spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Ready, my dad in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. We are welcoming to the show today a good friend and gentleman we've had on the show before in special segment. We connected in Honduras at one of those little cigar getaway things that we were fortunate enough to be invited to. And Paul Carroll, who runs the
Good afternoon, everyone.
Town.
How you been, man? Doing all right. Can't complain. We could make a complaint out of COVID, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. So, Paul, I was looking through things yesterday. We're going to get some stories together for the show. Saw a great article in the Houston Chronicle online about the fact that you were reopening and some of the challenges that afforded. So let's get Paul on the show today, and we can ask him, what it's like on the front lines of the cigar lounge during the the sort of gentle reopening. So we'll ask you some questions about that today. We'll also be tasting a few interesting things, which we'll get to in a moment. And now, Paul, I know you've got to run a shop, so let me just say at the top here that we'd love to have you stay for the whole show.
Okay.
But you certainly don't have your schedule can be whatever you need it to be. So
understood.
Before we go any further, I'd just like to say I'm so excited about today's show because last week, although I thought it wound up being a very interesting show, I have to say it was my personal, just as far as being on the show, was my personal least favorite episode of Smoking and Toast. And that was because we were doing the great liquor taste test. And I almost didn't want you to drink anything for a few days after. Ian, that was some nasty shit is what that was.
Yeah. So malt liquor is it's been around a long time, but that doesn't make it good.
No, you're absolutely right.
It doesn't make it good at all. So
Ian,
Paul,
I see your...
I don't know if you watched it. We tried 4 different malt liquors last week just to see how they tasted because we don't drink it very often, so you never know.
And by very often, he means never.
Yeah, pretty much never.
Yeah, but I can summarize it for you. I mean, we'd love for you to go and spend time with the whole show, which you can find on YouTube or any of the podcasts where we're all horrible. If that makes me a beer snob, then I'll wear that hat. So, Ian, what you smoking there? I see you lit up.
So this is a H. Upman.
Oh, very nice. That's the class. Yeah.
That's the Connoisseur A.
The Connoisseur A. Very nice.
So this is the Habana H. Upman.
Placencia, Alma Fuerte. I think you gave me this, Ian. It's been residing.
Those are delicious.
I'm excited to get in there and give this. Yeah, it's a little.
I think Alan might have given you that one. I think you smoked the one I gave you before.
That very well could be. But Paul, let's jump into this a little bit in case we don't have you for the show.
So first, you're cutting in and out on my feed. So if you just asked a question, I'll need to ask you to repeat it.
Yeah, no problem. We're experiencing a little more internet waiver ability today than we're used to. I don't know why that is, but
All right.
Paul, every city and state was a little different in terms of how they reopened. Your shop is in the Heights, which is a great neighborhood of Houston, Texas.
Yes.
When were you allowed to open your doors? Or
Well,
did you?
since cigar lounges exist in a non-guidelined environment, I mean, there's not a little bullet point that says, oh, cigar lounges, you can do A, B, and C. I've been following restaurant guidelines, but before the opening statement, we chose to not officially open our doors. During the Great Shutdown, we were open 5 hours a day, 6 days a week for single customer patronage only, in and out, grab and go, or curbside pickup. And those who chose to grab and go, they were met with a locked front door so we could control how many were in the shop. And no one was allowed to touch anything until the time of payment. And that's how we managed through most of the Great Shutdown. And then Governor Abbott announced that May 1st would be the restaurant opening at 25% capacity. So we chose to count the number of seats we have, because our certificate of occupancy doesn't have a number of max number of people on it. So we counted our seats, divided by 4, and said the great number is going to be 9. Allow 9 customers to sit in the lounge, maintaining social distancing. We've got our chairs marked accordingly where they can, more accurately where they cannot sit. And then we are allowing retail to happen as it naturally goes. And I think we've only hit 3 days where we've had to, we're only allowing 1 customer in the humidor at a time. And so if more than one person is wanting to shop in the store, they have to line up down the hallway, waiting their turn, social distancing. We're sanitizing everyone's hands before they walk in the door. And if they have an opinion about not wanting to use hand sanitizer, we offer them the bathroom with soap and water. But yes, everyone must clean their hands before they walk in the humidor. What else are we doing since the great reopening? I believe tomorrow, today is Thursday. Yes, tomorrow is Friday. Restaurants are allowed to go up to 50% capacity. And so we are expanding out to as many seats as we can host with social distancing, which is just under 50%. I think we'll take about 14 or 15 people in various places throughout the lounge. Social distance still maintaining the hand washing or the hand sanitizer. During the last, 20 days, we've been open until 6 o'clock in the evening. Beginning tomorrow, we're pushing back out until 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with our regular 12 to 6 on Sunday. We have not been contacted by any legal authority, municipality, or any patrons coming back saying, hey, we're part of a contact trace. So I have to believe, without science behind me on this statement, that we're doing everything right. We're doing what we can, and we're staying open, and it's been nice. We haven't maintained our pre-COVID revenue streams, but we certainly have enough revenue to keep us going for another day. And I look at it that way. I'm pulling out my old, when I first opened up, habits on, well, can we do it tomorrow? Sure, let's do it tomorrow. And just facing each day as it comes.
I was going to ask you about the revenue, Paul, and certainly don't share any more of this than you're comfortable with sharing. When you were doing
the fact that I published my annual revenue for the whole world to see, and that the Premium Cigar Association picked up said Houston Chronicle and published it for all of the tobacconists across the country. No, I have no problem saying this.
So for all of our viewers out there who haven't met Paul is one of the most transparent people I think we've ever had on the show. As far as like,
don't ever say that number ever again.
Paul, when this first started, you were basically have and go, or one person at a time. How much is that? And
I got to hold you for a second.
Did that impact sales? Did it take you? All right, yeah. See, he's doing that.
I think he's got a customer.
No. I had to run. No, I've got.
Yeah.
My staff is on. My staff is on board. They're working.
Oh, okay.
But I do have. We all have short-term memory problems, and I had a UPS outbound, and I needed to make sure that was grabbed. UPS just dropped off today's deliveries, and I'm looking forward to it because we're today and tomorrow with deliveries. We're restocking the humidor, so it doesn't look anemic anymore.
So yeah, I wanted to get to stock in just a bit, but when this first started and you were doing curbside and one person in at a time, is it even possible to do 50% of your usual sales in a situation like that? How bad did it get?
I'm a charts and graphs kind of guy, and while they will dictate that, yes, the bottom fell out, it was interesting in that those who chose to shop those 5 hours a day, 6 days a week, were certainly spending and purchasing more than the pre-COVID average ticket spend. So that was a blessing. Customers are just fantastic. And I'm going to throw in the adjective friends. Friends were just fantastic through this process. I was the one manning the boats, so I was here every day. Our assistant manager, Christian, he was out working on our new website, which I do need to get with the host today because there seems to be a problem with the domain resolving. But anybody can take a peek at it. Right now, it's found under the domain new.heightcigarlounge.com. But once I get the host correcting things, it should point in a few days back to heightcigarlounge.com. But anyway, having said all that, and Mr. Doug came through as he could from time to time, and so kept everybody employed, kept everybody moving. Friends were coming in, customers were great. Yes, there was a great reduction in the revenue stream. And had it not been for the care package, for which I am a party of two different projects within the care package, it might have turned into year one all over again going, did I make a damn big mistake? And no, it didn't. I'm a capitalist, but I'm going to say I'm grateful for the socialist package called the care package, in which it's helped me maintain payroll and some of my utilities, as well as taking care of another part, that other secondary project has kept things afloat. And I am not in any position of concern around closure. But things could change tomorrow where they lock us all back down. I mean, our county judge is about to announce today. In fact, she probably already has. I think her conference is at 12:30. Extension of the stay-at-home order until, what was it, middle of June? I can't remember the exact date. But yes, she was extending our stay-at-home orders until June. And somehow or another, that's supposed to be in line with Governor Abbott's phase 2 opening, which is occurring tomorrow. So, but
that seems a little confusing, but okay.
It is. But yeah, we're going to budge forward. We're going to open up some more seats in the lounge. We're going to extend our hours back out to 8 o'clock. It might be another month or so. Right before COVID, the great shutdown, we had offered extended hours on Friday and Saturday until 10 p.m. And then the great shutdown occurred. And so I'm going to take it cautiously. It's too early to go to 10 o'clock. It might be too early to go to 8 o'clock, but we're certainly going to push out and go to 8 o'clock and get back to as much normal operations as possible. And I've gotten your question.
Oh, when people were allowed to come back and sit in the lounge and have a cigar, did they seem comfortable doing?
Yeah, they were. There was comfort. There was also a great sigh, if you will, from the masses going, yes, somewhere else. I can sit indoors now. Not everyone has the opportunity to smoke indoors in their home environment. And so, yes, as the great summer returned, everyone was like, yeah, somewhere to be indoors now. Most of our regulars who were here multiple times a week before the great shutdown, they're coming back. They have been back. They are enjoying the lounge. So much so that there are moments in time that we've hit capacity twice, and that was over this past weekend. Last Friday and this past Saturday, we hit capacity, and we had to turn a couple away who were a little sad they couldn't stay to sleep.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what you were just doing, but a spaceship to the COVID situation. You all right there, brother?
What was that?
I'm not sure if you can hear us. You all right?
Oh yeah, I'm good. I planned on using my new computer for this call, but right before I couldn't get the camera to work just right, and I'm sure it's just a setting. So I didn't bring my iPad power supply down here, so I had to go grab that or run out of power. You know how that is.
Okay. I will say I believe you may have the noisiest screen door in Houston.
You know, I could oil that, but I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And while it's been on my mind, I want to apologize for not joining you guys with a cigar. And the reason is I'm sitting inside my humidor, which is a no smoke zone. So I just wanted to offer up apologies for not joining you with a cigar.
Paul, when people came in at the beginning of the crisis, and you mentioned that there were fewer customers, but they were spending more.
Yes.
I'm curious, were people? Did it look like the average person that came buying cigars so they would last longer, or was it relevant? I'm home. I'm getting
I heard most of your question. I can attribute one customer to buying over and above in support. Blessings to him. But a lot of them were buying more just so they could reduce their trip outside of the house.
Got it. So buying what they usually buy instead of buying cheaper or more expensive.
Yeah,
just
they
buying more of it at
so
a
they
time.
could stay home longer. Yes.
So I found that because I'm at home more often, I'm sitting out here smoking cigars pretty much every chance I get. So I've gone through almost my entire humidor at this point.
It's quite interesting. Yeah. Personally, I'm the opposite. I'm usually a 4 or 5 a dayer outside of factory tours. I was down to maybe 3 a day just because it was just I couldn't. It just didn't feel. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I found myself smoking fewer cigars during the shutdown than I did pre-shutdown. I'm
less social.
4 or 5 a day. Don't get me wrong. I'm back up to my normal allotment. But no, during the Great Shutdown, I was lucky to get 3 in a day.
I think Ian said maybe being less social, and I think that.
Maybe being less social has a little bit to do with that.
Yeah.
Paul, what about supply? We saw that several manufacturers had to shut down at least for a while. Was there any difficulty in getting cigars back in stock?
No.
And is it better now if there was?
I haven't experienced any supply chain issues yet that I'm aware of. That may be because, and this is my opinion, most of the folks that we deal with have at best somewhere between 4 to 6 months inventory already here in the States. And so if there is going to be a supply chain issue, it might be felt sometime in June, late June, maybe early July. But at present, I don't believe that there's going to be any hiccups along the line, even in the late June, early July timeframe. I'm aware that Nicaragua is still open. Individual plants in Nicaragua closed down, not many. I'm aware that Honduras and Dominican Republic had to do some big-time shutdowns, but they're already back up, even at limited capacity, rolling cigars. The growing season has ended. In fact, I was just listening to Nicholas and Nick Perdomo yesterday from a podcast published live by the Premium Cigar Association. They're about a few handful of days away from finishing up pulling the last bit of the crop out of all their fields. So that part of the industry has come to its natural end in this calendar year as already. So there wasn't a big impact on the agronomy side. I had a sales rep reach out to me, I think it was early this week, asking if I've experienced the shipping delays with UPS. And the answer is no. So right now, for me personally, and I can't speak for every shop, my supply chain is resilient. I mean, I do have a couple of vendors here and there who have consistently, pre-COVID, post-COVID, 5 years ago, 2 more days from now, have had supply issues with turning cigars from primary production to limited production is what it feels like. But outside of those couple of instances of known backorder situations, no, the supply chain is resilient, it's functioning, and there are cigars that are flowing.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. And like you said, if there is a slowdown, it's likely something that's maybe we'll see subsequently.
In a couple
now, Paul, you're generally very involved on the political side of the cigar industry as well.
Yes, and my honest answer is right now that has taken a big back seat in terms of attention. And it is moving into an election cycle, not nationally. I focus mostly on the state level and what happens on our little hill in Austin, here in Texas. And there are concerns that I'm listening to from other states that are already sounding the alarm around increased tobacco taxing. It's no surprise to anyone that all levels of taxing for income revenue for municipalities, be it state, local, city, local county, whatever level of government there is, they've been hit hard, not only from the expense outlay they had to have provided for COVID response, but also in reduced revenues in terms of regular tax income streams. So that makes it a very tenuous moment where I'm holding my breath, not for hopes of we're going to make it through, but I have some real concerns that freshman and sophomore, junior level representatives, because taxing has to start in the House, not in the Senate, that our reps will be looking to increase taxes anywhere and everywhere. And when those start to promote those ideas, that's when we will start. We should actually be starting to pick up the horn now and try to put up some barriers against said increases before they happen. But right now, even the rest of my board, we are all just focused on our day-to-day operations, trying to maintain versus lose in this game of COVID.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, you were seeing so many states where, the sin tax or cigar tax or tobacco tax or whatever was going like on through the is. I mean, there's no reason to New York ever, And Alan Denny was on with us a couple of weeks ago. Was talking about he knew people in New York that go out of state to buy their cigars because it just doesn't make any sense.
Yes. David Garofalo, one of the largest retailers in our industry, has said something similar to what you just said, where he's in New Hampshire, and forgive me, I'm geography stupid. I think Connecticut might be a next door state, and they were looking at watching some customers, sadly,
Connecticut
jump to the next state because that state had reopened sooner than New Hampshire. Now that New Hampshire's open, he's talking about the customers are coming back. But yeah, he said he watched customers jump across states lines. It's crazy.
When I lived up in Boston, Massachusetts, I used to drive up to the two right across Massachusetts, New Hampshire border. Those guys were great. Had a big operation, but you're right. Like different states have opened in different ways. We've seen this year. Craft beer is hurting everywhere because of the shutdown of tap rooms and stuff. But in some places like Michigan, they haven't been able to sell at all. They can't even do curbside, and it's some states are tougher than So different rules and different reopening schedules, and hopefully none of us are reopening too soon, and we don't have to go back into another lockdown. There's always that.
That's just it. There is going to be a second, third, a ninth, a 10th, a 12th wave of this. My opinion about all of this has been that the shutdown wasn't for anything other than to slow its progression so that we did not overwhelm the healthcare system.
Right.
That was the goal. Don't overwhelm the
Right.
healthcare system. Yes, different levels of government-funded science societies. Everybody's pushing for a vaccine. Everybody's pushing for the miracle cure until there is some type of immunity, whether man-made or humanly possible. We grow our own immunity towards it. There will be some type of this virus hanging out with us forever. And it's up to us on how we react and respond to it. Do we go running back into our homes and hide? Do we make sure that certain levels of healthcare have all of the necessary requirements? Did we just learn a big-ass lesson? Yes. All of the governments who have chosen to minimize and reduce healthcare budgets over the last few years, last decades, we learned a big lesson that that's not quite the right answer to the problem.
Yeah. It's tough to be prepared for everything, but clearly we weren't prepared for this. And
right.
That's been evident.
Again, did I answer the question? I'm such a bad interviewer.
Very well, actually. Talking about the industry slowdown, the PCA, formerly the IPCPR, their annual convention and trade show, which would have taken place in July, that's been canceled now due to the virus. Paul, how does that affect an individual retailer? Something like that happens.
The primary benefit, it's not a primary benefit. Everyone likes to talk about trade shows and trade shows. However, and I don't know if our industry is unique or not, but since I became a part of the industry back in 2010, these trade show deals exist in advance of, during, post. Oh, I forgot 3 months later. Yes, we'll give it to. These trade show deals exist whether you go to the trade show or not. So whether there's a trade show for deals,
and those deals give
primary. I'm sorry.
And those deals, I was going to say, those deals are what give you the opportunity to buy at better prices,
to help grow the margins. Yes. But our trade show, like most trade shows, they're experiencing a downturn, a naturally progressing downturn. And while I'm able to say that, I couldn't tell you why that exists, what's going on. But trade shows in general across the board, unless they're innovative, they've done something completely different, somehow or another they stand out from the rest, they are dying as a marketing tool, as a buying tool. As I just said, for us, our trade show benefits exist before, during, and after the trade show. And at the same time, I chose to go to a second trade show earlier this year in Vegas, known as the Tobacco Plus Expo, TPE. And I went there just to explore. I didn't go shopping packages. I wasn't prepared for that, but I was prepared to go and explore. And I will say that there was an excitement on that trade show floor that hasn't existed at PCA's trade show in a number of years. And the only difference I can point to is that it was different. It wasn't PCA. That's the only thing that was different about it. There was nothing about packages. Now, for the vendors on the floor, it was certainly different. Smaller booths, more economical in terms of cost outlays. I heard that vendors were recouping their costs with it before the end of the first day of the trade show versus waiting for the last day of the trade show over on the PCA side. So the vendors themselves had a bigger benefit at this smaller footprint. And perhaps that's something PCA should explore. I mean, I don't know what the answers are. I certainly do not. But there's got to be something different to bring excitement back to a thing called trade show and convention.
And you were at IPCPR the last year it was called that, and I think you told me that the Drew Estate booth, must have cost them.
Well, actually, it's in the triple digits, 6 digits. We're in 6-digit territory.
It was like a crazy disco party the whole time.
Yeah, and they had a big-ass booth at this TPE. Well, at the same time, Drew Estates is part of us, and I'm not sure about this in total. They may be partnership with Phillips & King, and Phillips & King is who owns the Tobacco Plus Expo trade show. And so, yeah, they had a larger footprint because of that partnership.
Yeah, there were a few booths that were just enormous there.
I do wonder if trade shows of all kinds, not just the tobacco industry, but all kinds, are going to be in trouble going forward. I mean, from where I'm sitting here doing the show, I can look to my left at the George R. Brown Convention Center. It's been deserted for months. There's nothing going on over there. There's no conventions, no conventions of any kind, and are going to feel comfortable being in that environment again.
Well, I'd heard, and I haven't seen anything published, and I know Vegas has not reopened yet, or at least the Strip has not. But one of the primary reasons for canceling PCA was that the convention halls were only going to allow 250 people in at a time. And my God, you've got just 250 people alone or more just on the vendors being on the floor. Forget bringing in retailers. So there was just no way for the show to actually happen with just that one conversation point.
So, yeah, it's. I think so many things in the future are up in the air until we know what the new normal looks like, I guess is the best way to put it.
We also have another hickey hindering us from bouncing around the country for different states to host us, in that we smoke on the trade show floor. We sample new products. We're privy to the act of smoking, and not many states remain that have a variance that can be activated for our particular industry. Las Vegas is one of the remaining places that has that variance. The last time we were in New Orleans in 2015, 1 month before we slammed into the city enacted a smoking ban without any variances. And I'm not on the board. I haven't been on the board. I'm talking from watching the behind the scenes. They had to fight to get a variance to allow us on the floor to smoke. And I can only imagine, you're talking about the George R. Brown on your shoulder. I don't think they have a smoking variance at all.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, so that would prevent something like that from being able to even host this kind of.
Right.
Last hosted somewhere in 2008 or 2009. I can't remember. But yes, that was the last time.
Yeah, smoking is such a huge part of it. Like, when I was wandering around when I first got there, of course, I looked like a tourist in New York. I just wandered around going like, what is this crazy place? But you go into the booth and you start talking to some people. Now, I did a circuit where I kind of went around and just found people that I knew and said hi to them and stuff like that. But every time you walk into a booth, if you're talking to somebody, like, oh, you're not smoking anything, here, try one of these. I mean, it's that kind of thing. So I ended up with, I had my little sling pack on with my backpack, or with my iPad in it, and I ended up having to stuff cigars in there, just and I couldn't wait to try all of them too.
Now, the days of coming home from a trade show with hundreds of cigars as a retailer are long gone. And I never felt comfortable with that either, knowing full well that you give me a cigar to smoke that I will never buy. Those days are long gone. I know for a fact today in Vegas, they are paying the tobacco tax for every cigar that is gifted in a marketing manner to sample. So that has curtailed what I call the trick-or-treating, the Pez dispenser, or the candy bowl effect of our trade show in particular. And yes, you're lucky to get one to say, I would really like to smoke that because I'm very interested in buying it, but I need to know before I buy. So there are some that are, some would like to say stingy, but no, they're watching their purse, because trade shows aren't cheap for the manufacturers in any stretch of imagination. I mean, you've got Union that has to move their booth from the back dock to the spot on the floor. A Union has to erect their booth. I mean, there are extra costs in Vegas that probably wouldn't exist elsewhere. And I'm unsure. I've never dealt with a trade show from a management or vendor side. So, but I can only imagine that, yes, this is going to be a great savings for PCA this year, for the vendors in PCA, while at the same time being a great revenue loss for PCA.
Now, one of the biggest reasons for PCA or IPCPR formerly was the deals that you get at the trade show. But a lot of these companies were offering these deals beforehand as well, before the trade show, to the vendors, saying, okay, well, let's get some of this business out of the way. And are they starting to do that now?
Not yet. It would probably be next month before we hear anything about trade show deals. But you hit on something. PCA started back in 1933 as a little conglomerate in New York that spread quickly to across the nation. And I'm by no means a historian of our trade show, but I am aware that sometime in the past, trade show deals were only available to participants at the trade show. And so many years ago, some of the vendors identified that some of their accounts, and I'm not going to say whether they were key accounts or not, just some of their accounts weren't coming to the trade show, and they started extending the trade show deals to those who weren't going. And it mushroomed to everyone offering it before, after, and during. So it became this point of, I don't need to go to get the deals. I can save the travel expenses. I don't need to fly, go on an airplane, sit in a $200 a night hotel. I don't need a $700 airplane ticket. I don't need meal tickets that cost, I mean, spending $100 a day on meals just because a buffet now is $30 or more in Vegas.
Yeah, that's for sure. I want to shift gears just a little bit, Ian, because we've not done any tasting yet. I was wondering if you had a that you wanted to taste. I've seen you drink show beer. What will we be talking about today, Ian?
We have today the Tumbleroot. Now, I've been going through. Now, Paul dropped off some of these beers from Tumbleroot. This is from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I've been going through them one at a time, because I was supposed to bring them on the show. We haven't seen each other in a while, so I'm just drinking them. But I'm doing it on the show, so it seems like I'm doing it for the right cause, right? So this is a bittersweet dry hop ale made with local honey. It's called the Honey Double IPA from Tumbleroot, and it's about 8.9% ABV. I also brought a classic. I know we've probably had this on the show. I can't remember when, and if we didn't, then it's a gross oversight. But this is one of my favorite go-to beers right now. And this is our very own Buffalo Bayou. This is the Copper Ale 1836. And it is an absolute brilliant beer, and I have to say. So I brought those two things. And then later on.
Where are you going first?
Oh, are we drinking now? We're not introducing beers?
Oh, well, go ahead. I see what you've got there, and I want to hear about it.
Later on, I bought a bottle of Eighth Wonder, started making gin, and this is their hopped gin. So I brought this, and I brought some supplies to make martini with it to see how the martini's going to go as well. So I'll try it by itself, and then I'll try it martini style.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and go for the first of the beers, and while you do, nice.
You gotta get sound effects in there.
While you pour, I'll show you one I'm very excited to check out. It's real from Blanco, Texas. This is their cracked amber, which they describe malt forward amber ale. So I'm excited to try this. I love the real ale guys, what they do, how they normally brew, and I don't know if you could.
No. We got all that, including the dropped thing. Now, Paul, I can't remember. not a whole lot of a drinker, if I remember correctly.
Of course.
Yeah, once or twice a year at best. I'm a lightweight,
Right.
heat date, whatever you want to call it. One sip and I'm gone.
This copper ale, it smells like beer and delicious bread, and a little bit of hop on the background. It's a beautiful, a little bit darker than straw. It's got a pretty good amount of carbonation, and the taste is malt right up front. I mean, it's a beautiful, crispy, slightly burnt malt right up front with a hop finish that just cleans it right up like that. It's absolutely brilliant.
That is a regular staple beer in my fridge. I love that.
It's in my rotation at all times.
So
I'm for it.
The amber. Really, and what you're drinking, it almost looks a bit more like a copper amber ale. Very hoppy on the nose, but I'm getting a little bit of that malt already. And we'll just Ian, this is a beer you would love.
And now you broke up a little bit earlier, so what's the name of that? It's the Real Ale.
It's from Real Ale.
Sorry.
Our friends, it's the 8-track Amber from Real Ale in Blanco,
Gotcha.
Texas. Yeah, and it's described as a malt-forward amber ale, 6.5%. Ian, you would love this beer. I'm gonna.
That sounds exactly what I like. And not too far off of what the copper ale is.
I think so. In fact, I would compare. It's malty enough that it actually has a little bit of a chocolate note to it, which is one of the things I always love about that copper ale.
There's a sweetness to it. Well, malt and chocolate have some familiar flavors together. If you've ever had an actual malt from a malt shop, then you know that malt and chocolate are very similar in some ways. And that I just love that part of the beer. And both this beer in particular it got just a little bit of sweetness to it. But the hop on the back end of that, which they use for bittering, it's interesting because you taste that sweetness up front, but when you swallow, it doesn't leave a lingering sweetness. It leaves that crisp, I think I want another sip kind of finish to it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be honest,
this one
a lot of
finishes,
beer does that to me, but that's a personal thing.
This one finishes very smoothly. It's got a creaminess to it and a little bit of a caramel quality to it. Absolutely delicious. This will become a regular for me. This is a very, very good beer. I was when you were talking about being as much of a drinker, I do remember when we were all together in Honduras that by the end of the night, Paul would easily be so at the end of the.
I missed that. If you were talking,
I don't know if. I was just mentioning that when we were all together in Honduras. That you were definitely the most sober one by the end of the night.
Absolutely. I'm not a big drinker, and when I try, it's standard stuff, nothing fancy and fine like you guys are demonstrating right now.
That didn't make you any less the life of the party, though.
Ian, because we're experiencing some of this interval stuff, which is making the show a little jumpy, I want to move on through our other tastings here. So, do you mind opening your next beer?
I don't mind. I mean, no, don't make me open another beer. This is the Honey Double IPA from Tumbleroot, and we're going to try this. I got my can opener over here, so hold on.
So while Ian's getting that, I'll just mention a friend of his brought back a number of beers from Tumbleroot from Santa Fe.
This is from one of our
the show before.
Yeah, this is from one of our listeners. Paul May brought this. He brought this and a few other things from us for us, and I met him up at McCoy's downtown, and we had a great afternoon smoking cigars and hanging out when he was in town that time. So I can't wait for him to come back in.
I will just mention that all the tumble roots that I got to try that you brought in were all just exceptional. This seems to be a very strong brewery.
Very, very pale straw color. A little bit lighter on the carbonation than the last beer. Oh my goodness. Honey and hop right up front on the nose. It smells delicious. Like the hop with the honey smell is such an interesting couple of things going on. That is an interestingly good double IPA. It's round. It's got some sweetness to it. The honey punches through. There's also some floral things going on in there. I don't know what hops they use, but it's so floral and so big on the nose that this is one I think you would enjoy. I don't think it'd be your favorite style of IPA, but I think you would definitely enjoy it.
No. Jim, I'm going to step away for just a brief moment. Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of IPA, thank you, Paul. We'll enjoy the view of your.
Yeah, we get to stare at the cigars now. The whole line of La Polina and Camacho.
I have the pFreim, or as I like to call them, pFreim, Juciy.
They're so good.
IPA. Yeah, well, I have not tried this particular pFreim beer, but boy, do they have a great track record with the ones that we.
Yeah, I haven't tried that either.
I have 2 bottles today. I'm so excited.
Every pFreim that we've had on the show has been outstanding beer. Oh, that came through nice and clear.
Very good. All right. Well, this is a nice big bottle. It says they may come from New England, but pFreim's Juciy IPA features aromas of peach and starfruit with notes of orange sherbet and we put the juice, and it's 7%, which is about normal, maybe slightly higher for not normal, 6 to 7. And as you can see, it's pouring nice and hazy. Oh boy, does that look!
That is hazy.
I'm really excited. I will say, Ian, after our adventure last week with the malt liquor, I finally had to go and dig around in my beers and get the heaviest IPA I could find. And that was what finally washed the malt liquor taste out of my mouth. So it was 2 days later.
It was 2 days later.
Yeah.
Well, it makes you appreciate. It makes you appreciate beer that isn't malt liquor, right? Like almost any beer that isn't malt liquor.
Never before have I appreciated it so much. This is delicious. Not nearly as hot as I think you would find this, Ian, to be what you like to describe as a very balanced IPA. It's got bright floral and citrus, but without having a whole lot of hoppiness to it. And we just lost Ian there for a moment. I don't know if he'll be back. But
I'm here.
So Ian, I've just got your logo picture instead of your camera now.
Oh, I don't see anything going different, but I'm going to try something.
You're back. Oh, you were back. Moment. Well, this is the problem. The technical glitch show we've so I don't know. Maybe it's just a bad day for the internet. I don't know.
Am I back yet?
To be back in the, you're back. Yes, you're back.
Awesome.
We do plan to be back in the studio soon. So hopefully we can do that. And I haven't figured out yet. And Paul, maybe it's a good question we can ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, we are to come and do a show from your end. We would love to set up and how we could pull it off in 6 feet away, social distancing, because usually we kind of put our chairs close enough. We're usually a single camera when we're out, so it can be a little tougher, I think, to figure out.
You're welcome to come anytime you want. honestly, the best area for it would most likely be we've got a large table outside, not outside, outside the humidor that would accommodate a setup. And what I've got in my mind is what we did in Honduras, a similar setup like that. That we have an area and a table that
right
kind of setup, and it would accommodate 4-foot distancing. It would certainly hold 6 foot for 2 people. The third person, we might stretch it to 4.
Yeah, right. Maybe we can figure out how to do a multi-camera thing that could help. So
not a problem. Come anytime you want.
So Ian, all right, we will plan to do that, and very soon. So Ian, just final word on this beer. Fantastic. This is a real treat. Boy, my standing.
Well, I have to tell you that
Up there a little. You want to go ahead and?
I'm getting a little frustrated with the freezing up here, but I have to tell you, while I do enjoy hanging out with you guys like this, I would much rather be in person. So I can't wait till we start doing that again. That's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Absolutely.
So the only glass I brought to drink out of is my fancy martini glass here. So we're going to try it out of here, and then I'm going to make myself a martini. This is the Eighth Wonder Hopped Gin. This is from right across the street from you, basically.
Yep. I can see them from where I sit.
Me and my wife went in there one day just to look around, and I didn't even realize they had gin at that point in time. So we bought a bottle of it to try it. It's very floral and hoppy. I thought also, since I was doing a hoppy beer, that this would be a good one to go after that, since it's a hopped gin.
I don't know that I've ever had a hop gin, so I'm real curious.
This is delicious.
And now you're just doing it straight, right?
This is delicious. This tastes like citrus fruity, like almost like Mountain Dew.
Wow.
This is absolutely delicious. I had no idea what to expect about a hop gin. I remember I brought a hopped whiskey in, that Corsair hopped whiskey in, that was not good.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was so stinky and weird. But this is absolutely delicious. This is like straight out of the bottle and plain, is easily drinkable just like this. That's a dangerous thing. There's a heat that comes back after the sips. But man, this leaves a floral, citrusy sweetness on the palate that's absolutely wonderful. I bet, like food pairing, you get something like truffle fries or something like that to back this up, and I bet it's absolutely golden.
Ian, make your martini, and I want to go ahead and wrap the show up here soon because of these technical issues. But while you make the martini, I will pour for a taste of the Barnacles Gran Reserva 12-year Dominican Republic rum. This is a brand that I'd not tried before, although clearly I've been into this bottle. But I thought it would be an interesting one to talk about on the show. And I haven't done a rum here in a while, so I like the sound. I like the sound of the shaking. So whenever you're ready,
you go ahead.
That baby.
Is that too loud?
All right. It was perfect.
Is that coming through?
Perfect.
So you gotta shake a little bit longer. So keep talking.
All right. So this is a 12-year. 12-year is quite a bit of aging for a rum. Most rums that you buy are going to be, in the 7 or less variety. There are certainly some that are more, but 12-year is quite a bit for a rum. And it's got such a wonderful nose to it. Oh, I see the olive juice. Very good. so wonderful on the nose. It's got just you can get a little heat actually on the nose, and it's got a lot of pungent on the nose. Definitely a little bit of molasses or brown sugar. Wow, Ian, this is just a wonderful and very tasty rum, and I've actually had this for a little while, so I don't remember the price point, but I'm going to say it was less than $30 for a 12-year rum kind of steal. This is very, very good. So I'm batting 1,000 here today.
That's nice. Like, I need to go back with the video and take a screenshot of when you took a sip of that, because you look so happy.
I was, and still am, actually. Still am quite happy. And maybe happier yet by the time I finish it. Oh, 3 olives. You are the man. Are the man.
Cheers, y'all.
I just want to mention, cheers. I just wanted to mention lots of wonderful sort of brown sugar sweetness, but the sweetness, some rums are really, really sweet. This one is less so in terms of the way it hits your palate. You're getting more of the deeper flavors, the molasses, the sort of almost wood aging sort of flavors. Really, really delicious. All right, you've had a sip, my friend.
This is an amazing, an absolutely fantastic martini. And being that a martini is just basically Italian for big ass shot,
right?
Vodka or gin, right? This is outstanding. I think I've just found my newest go-to martini drink right here. It's also, because of the hop and the citrusy notes on it, it's refreshing. Like, it's 90 degrees outside where we're sitting right now, except for Paul, because he's inside in a nice air-conditioned
humidified, perfectly balanced.
Well,
as a matter of fact, it's so hot out here that I don't know if you just heard that little clank, but I set this off to the side like this, and because it warmed up, this popped right off the top. That's how warm it is out here. This is absolutely outstanding, and to keep it cold, this martini glass comes with a lid.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Buddy.
I hadn't seen that particular instrument of drinking. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, we've certainly done really well in terms of what we've chosen today, and I think, Ian, that we had it coming after the malt liquor debacle of last week. I think we
deserve something.
We deserve some good beers and some good drinks. Paul Carroll from Heights Cigar Lounge in the Heights neighborhood of Houston. A place that we love. Paul, we want to get in there to see you do a show soon. And thank you so much for coming on, talking about what's going on in our industry. We appreciate all that you do, and of course, we had great fun with you in Honduras. You mentioned to me when we spoke yesterday, just about setting this up, that you just gotten something new in that you were really excited about. Can you give us a, look at that again.
Oh, look at that, the Aladino Cameroon.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
It is a puro in our stretch of the word, definition of the word puro. It is single farm. It is a Cameroon wrapper grown by the Auroras. We saw some of their seedlings. They were doing different samplings. Cameroon was one of them. Sumatra was some of it. But the Cameroon came out, and they've got it over their authentic Corojo binder, authentic Corojo fillers from the farm, rolled right there at Camp Aladino. It's fantastic. I've recently learned that Cameroon is supposed to be a sweeter tobacco experience, and I will be honest that I'm searching for it, and it may be that because this particular Cameroon is grown in Honduras versus Cameroon.
Yes.
So I'm looking for that sweetness that's typical of a Cameroon. So I'm excited about it being here. Sticks run from $7.80 to $9.80 a piece. They only come in 3 sizes. They call it a Super Toro, a Robusto, and they call it a Lonsdale, but I would more call it a Corona Gorda. But 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Justo mentioned when we were there that they really were experimenting with what the Cameroon wrapper would taste like grown in their soil.
Right.
So this was a question mark even to them at that time. But from what I'm hearing you say, even though it may not have that sweetness, looks like the experiment may have been successcul.
Oh yeah,
it may have its own uniqueness to it.
Yes, I'm in my third cigar. We've had it in the store 24 hours.
Nice.
Well, you got to know your product, sir.
Right.
Here on the show, we call it research.
Right. I don't know if you remember, real quick, a humorous note. You remember the genie and how we were trying to convince them not to use the genie image because of potential trademark infringements? Right. Dad did not listen to anyone. The genie is in the box.
Oh, very interesting. We kind of could see that coming, if you remember that conversation. And for those listening and watching the show, there was an interesting marketing discussion going on, and it was about using this particular image, kind of a cartoonish-looking genie. We thought, they might have some copyright.
Can you show us the genie? Do you have one handy?
I would have to walk from camera to get it, and yes. Is that all right?
We'd love to see it, yeah. This is a good way to close out the show.
So, the genie is a little cartoonish, and we were just concerned that with the whole legislation, and they're trying not to market to kids, that the cartoonish genie might be a little bit over the top. Although it's an incredibly cool piece of art.
It's a
that
very
he said his wife had drawn.
Yep, right, and it certainly fits with the Aladino, name. But
well, as I was away, I don't know if you spoke about it, but if you remember, the Aladino was a theater that the family had run very successfully in Don Lee, Honduras for years, and the genie was their marketing image for the theater. So they just inserted the cigar for us.
Well, I can't wait to try one of them. Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, guys.
Apologies for the technical issues. I don't know why we struggled more with it today than we normally do, but this will all be a moot point soon, as I think we'll be back in the studio in a couple of weeks. So
excellent. Good, guys. It's good to see you again. Miss seeing you.
Always.
All right, man. Good to see you, Paul.
We will see you soon. Thank you again, Ian. I am very excited about your martini. So cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Clink.
Have a great week, my friend.
Bye-bye now.